Apple Store employees of Reddit, what are some of the strange things you've seen on those devices before wiping them every night? My old roommate was a genius. He offered to sync some lady's photo stream to her phone. As he did, pictures started popping up from her husband's photo album of him fricking all these other women. Left in tears. He called me all bummed. Felt so bad. My old roommate was a genius. Thought you were being really sarcastic till I remembered that's what they call their employees. Worked at Best Buy and I got a picture of this girl's boyfriend's dong over text while I was transferring her contacts. She wouldn't stop apologizing. Middle of the day dong pic, why not? I work at an Apple store. We see a lot of weird crap. Once when I was a specialist, I went to go demo an iPad mini to someone. Turn on the screen and bam, dong as the lock screen wallpaper. They did not end up buying the iPad mini. Ha, mini dong. I worked as a specialist and was good friends with some people at the Genius Bar. One time a mother came to pick up her daughter's laptop from the Genius Bar after a data transfer from her old computer. When the geniuses brought the computer out from the back room, she rudely insisted that she go through the computer while still at the Genius Bar to make sure everything was transferred. They started going through the photos and the mother stumbled upon a photo album of her daughter with 3 or 4 other girls in a lesbian orgy. She immediately closed the computer and left the Apple store in tears. The creatives see this kind of stuff almost daily. I've got some Apple Store stories. I used to be a genius for a few years and a man came in with a non-functioning iPhone. When I asked him what was wrong, he said, "I don't know, man. Just woke up and it won't turn on." Upon further questioning, it came up that he had been drinking the night before, and it might have had something to do with his problem. I started to check for liquid damage thinking he might have spilled a drink on it inadvertently, and that's when the stench hit me. As a side note, you need to get your face really close to the phone to look at the liquid damage sensors in an iPhone. What I had only now began to smell was the odor of stale pee. This dude had somehow soaked his phone in urine and gave it to me to try to get replaced. Needless to say, he did not get a new phone. Ruined my day. TLDR. Dude made me touch his pee. You're not officially part of the family room until you get your first toilet phone. Former employee. A girl brought in her own laptop because it was running real slow. Hard drive was basically full with all sorts of animal pee. Some more to the story. This girl was like 16 years old. We live in a pretty wealthy area outside New York City. When she returned to pick up the computer, she brought her mother with her, one of those real snooty upper class types. My friend was actually the genius that worked on her computer and he originally planned to be straight with this girl and tell her she had way too much pee on the online book. But with mommy dearest around, he just had to tell her that there were a lot of pictures on the hard drive along with other issues. Cats, I'm a kitty cat. I've seen some weird crap before. One time someone FaceTimed one of the iPads I was cleaning. Another specialist and I answered it. It was a very large Hispanic lady with a shirt not quite covering all of her belly. I informed her that she called a demo iPad. Someone clearly logged in with their Apple ID. She asked if we still wanted to talk. We didn't. Also, various people who don't belong on demo backgrounds. Somebody comes in about once a month, and I don't know how they do it, but they set Nick Cage as the background on all the iOS devices. I'm impressed, and then hate changing everything back. Creative of 7 years, recently promoted to full-time customer. My job was to train old people how to use Macs, 1 hour at a time. One lady in particular comes to mind. Her husband had recently passed, so she came in weekly for lessons, but also maybe to make her mind off things a few weeks in a row. However, she would bring up iPhoto and find a picture of her late husband and start crying. This happened for a few weeks, until one week it was pictures of her and her husband naked in bed, but someone else was taking pictures. This time it was tears of joy as she explained that it was her son taking the pictures because he thought they looked beautiful. One more. A male elementary school teacher who was also a nudist wanted to learn how to bookmark pages in Safari. So I click on Safari and it's a picture of him skinny dipping into a lake. No big deal. I close that window and open a new one. Same picture. IT was his homepage. Worked in several different positions at an Apple store. All the demo products are on a schedule and wipe every time they restart. Though I have seen people add their business as the homepage. Also seen people pull up that product at Best Buy or another site. Since working as a tech I've seen a lot of a lot of it self-made. Weirdest was a picture on this girl's desktop of her on a dog cage wearing only a dog collar. Weird interaction with the guy who kept asking me how to go to P sites without getting on their mailing lists. Another with the middle-aged guy who had a problem importing pictures. Some of them were of him with other guys. He had the decency to cover my eyes and say you're too young to see this. Or the guy who swore his phone was broken because he couldn't stream his P. Sorry man, that site uses Flash, was not a good enough explanation. I wouldn't trust that man's hands around my face. Not Apple, but Verizon. People would leave their phones and go to do other shopping while we transferred data and such. I had a co-worker who had 100% accuracy when guessing if someone would have naked pictures of themselves. It became a game fairly quickly. Once, one of the experts had a guy come in wanting help with an iMovie project. Not exactly part of their expertise, but expert. Female, wanted to help and no family room people were available so she said sure. The guy had 5 hours worth of homemade P that he wanted to edit together into his own home porno. Another genius told me that he had a guy come in for his iPad because his data wasn't working anymore. After a bunch of troubleshooting, it seems the problem lay with his carrier and his outstanding $6,000 plus bill he had in going over his data limits. What was he doing with all his data? All the gay P. And of course, all the obligatory dong, vag and boob pics of SOS while they are standing right there. Dang $6,000 worth of gay P. And I thought I was bad. I don't work in an Apple store, but I went through TI messages on one of the store iPhones. Someone was sending really nasty, mean texts to someone they obviously didn't like with an anonymous number. If you're going to be in butthole, at least own up to it. So many of my friends are about to get subscribed to Catfax for a few hours. I manage a Cricket store. Had a guy come in to pay a bill. Turns out I was in the same clinic with him in Virginia a few years back when I was ill. I lingered by the iPhones as he left and he just said, deadpan, "Oh hey bro, you might want to wipe that man." I googled the word nutsack on there. He was at that phone for 10 seconds. Tops. No pictures. He just said hello, walked over to the phone, googled the word nutsack and closed the screen and walked away. Bonus. I get random FaceTime calls on the demo lines. I like to answer them and look at an imaginary person behind me off screen and yell, "Hey Norm, check it out. We got us another live one here." They hang up immediately. I could understand searching nutsack and walking away, but I don't understand why he'd warn you about it. I might be delving a bit deeper into his motives than he did though. Not at Apple, but I work for Sprint. Some guy managed to take a picture of himself without his shirt on with a store phone. He didn't send it, he took it. Somehow we didn't notice, but I know it was taken there because the rest of the store was in the background. Maybe he stole a device, loaned tons of money from the bank, started building his own exact replica of the store in the desert, where he proceeded to take off his shirt, take a picture, and run back to the store to put it back, and you somehow didn't notice. I work at a phone dealer so I deal with the same problem. Lots of butt cracks, only one dong, tons of confused faces. However, I went to wipe one phone one day and it had a picture of my best friend from junior high as the wallpaper. I haven't seen or talked to him in like 7 years as I'm in a different city and we pretty much lost touch due to different interests etc. I was completely shocked seeing as I was there all day and did not see him and he must not have seen me. I mean, everyone has a dong or an ass crack to put on a phone. I had one best friend and there he was on the phone that I happened to stumble across to wipe. I still haven't gotten in touch with him to tell him how oddly coincidental that was. Maybe this will happen again and I will see him at a ping pong show in Bangkok in 25 years. Who knows? We will wait for as long as IT takes for OP to deliver. 25 years is a baby step. Likely too late, but I've been on the other side of the fence. I had a DVD in my laptop that was an instructional video. I was trying to learn some new moves to please my then boyfriend. It's just my laptop, so I'll leave the DVD in there for days. And one day my computer suddenly shuts off and a puff of smoke appears. Well, that can't be good. When I take it and they say they have to send it out to get fixed under warranty. I forgot the DVD was still in there. I return a week later and this poor girl brings out my laptop, goes through the whole boot up thing to make sure it works, and then at the very end hands me an envelope and whispers, "I believe there was a movie in there as well, so this is your property." I just said yup, there was, and hightailed it out of there. So embarrassed. She handled it pretty well, I think. The other night we got Nick caged. Every iPad in the store had a different wallpaper photo of that bastard. Can't be unseen. I'm not an Apple Store employee, but one day I was browsing our cringe on my iPad and came across a post about a neo-Nazi. In the comments someone linked to the guy's profile on a weird Nazi forum. I clicked through some of his posts there just out of curiosity to see what kind of crap was there. Soon after that, my home button quit working, so I had to take in my iPad for a replacement. Some poor Apple employee probably had to see 30+ pages of crazy Nazi fringe material in my Safari history. I'd like to take this moment to brag that this was the first comment in the thread. Something similar happened to me with my computer and my husband. I came across a news article about a very active white supremacist gang in my county. Having lived here for 30+ years, I was curious about them. So I did a Google search. That led to more searches. Then one of my kids needed something, so I just shut my laptop. He gets on later and sees all these wormphobic tabs open. I worked as a specialist in a flagship store in NYC for about a year. Every night we actually physically wiped down every product with alcohol wipes so that they would be sanitary the next day. I crap you not when I say we wore rubber gloves to do this. The amount of people we had come into the store, many of which were homeless or just plain dirty, was astounding. The white keyboards on the desktops weren't always white by the end of the day. And on the iPads, you could actually see the layout of the keyboard because of all the fingerprints on the screen. Edit. Also, since I'm an idiot and I think you meant memory wipe, I should note that we didn't have to go in and wipe them ourselves. They had a special storefront software on them that wiped them and set them to a default settings apps at the end of every day so that only approved programs and such were on there. Edit. Also, since I want karma and I'm not ashamed of it, I once helped a guy import photos from his BlackBerry to his Windows machine because my manager was a dong and asked me to do it since he had just bought an iPhone. Once I got it going, he made me stay with him cause he wanted to make sure it all worked. Turns out he had some lovely selfies of himself getting a BJ on there. He must have forgotten about them cause he turned red as a cherry when they popped up and tried to laugh it off. I work at Geek Squad, and as bad a reputation as some of these stores have, I think we have a pretty good confident group. Weirdest thing I have seen was a man using the display computers as an internet cafe machine to bid on a car on eBay and getting annoyed because they reset every 10 or so minutes so as to stop this type of tomfoolery. But after 3 identical complaints, I walked over and opened up the same exact eBay auction for the car and told him he would never outbid me because I have the PW to keep the computer working. Not exactly true. He shot me a very disturbed and confused look and exited the store after 2 hours of trying to purchase some old car off of eBay. But as for P, I had a girl come in with a web page open and say there is something wrong with my desktop background. When we closed the web page, there was an open folder of approximately 200+ photos she was submitting to Playboy and Penthouse. I really hope they got published. They were well shot and she was absolutely gorgeous. She totally knew what she was doing and I am pretty sure she liked our reactions. I don't work at an Apple store, but I've been selling phones for 4 years. People have all kinds of weird crap on their phones. I once had this girl who kept coming back with issues, and every single time both screens on her phone would have wallpapers of her freaking. I'm not even joking. It was a Kibo, and had one little screen and one big one. Do the fuckies know? If you're going to ask me to fix your browser, please don't leave the P open. One time I had to back up this woman's phone, she was probably about 50, to one of the store computers. She had about 5 videos of some guy who was definitely drunk singing and doing hula hoops. A lot of nudes. Everyone has nudes. I have nudes. You have nudes. I don't want to see your nudes though. This isn't really weird, but I think that the 13-year-olds who password protect their phones and their kissing my boy toy wallpapers are hilarious. They always seem so cheeky. Sorry, I suck at formatting. I'm just gonna throw out a guess, but I think she wanted you to become a fucky. You don't accidentally show people that stuff multiple times. Some guy who we have never caught comes in every other week or so and puts Nick Cage's face on every iPad and iPad mini in the store. I don't know who he is and I hate him for making my job harder, but dang, I respect him. Because he's the hero the Apple Store deserves, but not the one it needs right now. So we'll hunt him. Because he can take it. Because he is not our hero. He's a silent guardian. A watchful protector. A dark knight. I was talking to a guy who worked at an Apple store once and he told me that multiple times every day people ask if they can charge their Blackberries in the store. That must have been a while ago. I work at a Verizon store that carries Blackberries. We basically never ever sell them. People come in asking to charge their iPhones frequently though. I used to be a specialist at an Apple store. My favorite story was when I was asked to help out this grizzled taxi driver whose Mac was slow. His entire desktop was covered in naked JPGs of young to underage looking nude Asian women. The driver absolutely did not give a crap that I was seeing all this. All traces of shame left this man years ago, along with many of his teeth. He had no concept of using folders to store his pee, or to organize them in iPhoto. Just covered his desktop in loose icons that were layers thick. He also showed me the machete he keeps in his coat, because he has been held up multiple times. Not really relevant to the question, but it's still an Apple related story that's fricked up. Came in one morning to see the opening manager kind of freaking out. I was the opening inventory guy, so there wasn't really anyone else there other than him and I. He tells me to check out the genius room, where the techs work on crap. I walk over, open the door. The entire place is flooded. Turns out the movie theater upstairs had an issue with their wastewater. A few hundred gallons of little crap water rained down in the room where all the customers' exposed electronics are. Management's plan for this clusterfuck: have employees clean it up, throw out damaged parts and test all the customer equipment. If the customer's computer was hosed, replace it and tell them we couldn't repair it. If it worked, give it back to them and say fricking nothing. They put notes on the repairs in the system to replace the computer if it ever came back. For any reason. They then thought it would be okay to send back all the affected parts, without even notifying the receiving warehouse of the fact these parts were covered in wastewater. One of the dozens of reasons I freaking hating working for that company. I worked at Vodafone. I have had to deal with 1. A man corrupted a brand new laptop within an hour of purchase from viewing bestiality sites. 2. I made a woman cry because we worked out that her phone bill was higher because her husband was cheating on her. Sad. 3. Dozens of moisture damaged phones. After checking them for faults then casually being informed they had been pee on. 4. Probably 3 times a week lads showing me their girlfriend naked. And finally my favorite after 6 years of service. A girl filling up her phone memory full with self-pee and then offering to pay an employee to sit for about an hour to transfer them all to another phone years before easy sync etc. I don't work at an Apple store but I work at another large retailer where we do repairs on computers. About 2 weeks ago an older lady came in with a handful of small kids returning a MacBook Air and insisted she watch me restore it before she left. Like she was mentioning it after every question that she wasn't leaving until she saw it wiped. My manager overheard and told me he was worried about what she was hiding. I think he might have reason to believe it was child pee based on our location, the kids she had, and just general suspicion. So we just did the CMD, Updoot to the internet recovery screen and said look, here you go, good as new. She didn't know better so she said thanks and left. 10 minutes later we opened it up to make sure there was nothing crazy illegal and found about 2 hours worth of gangbang pee of her with 3 large black men. We wiped the computer. Moral of the story is, if you buy an open item computer, a quick recovery software could really reveal some crazy crap. Actual moral of the story is invest in some good file shredding software if you're ashamed of your inner pee star. Not an Apple employee, but I wiped data on phones for Modus Link. and saw between 350 phones a day. While I occasionally saw nudes, usually dong pics, but there was one crazy lesbian couple I remember. The vast majority of pictures were of two things. In second place, babies, usually newborns. Sometimes they were with their mother who had clearly just delivered them, and I felt strange, like I was in the room on this very intimate event. But in first place by a mile was pictures of pets. People fill their phones with pictures of their pets doing the most mundane crap. One phone in particular housed at least 200 photos of the same cat just sitting there in the same pose, or lack thereof, not doing crap, just sitting there. As it turns out, people really like cats. Who would have guessed? TLDR worked for a company wiping phones. Not many nudes, but thousands of pussies. Former concierge here. The most WTF thing was a teenage disabled dude who would come into the store and watch YouTube videos of childbirth. Security was called. Very awkward. Had a customer put a huge photo of a dong on a display iPad, mirror it onto the shop's 50-inch TV, and calmly walk about before one of us noticed. Lucky it wasn't a busy day. Funny little sucker. I worked for an AT&T retailer. Once a lady went in to upgrade her phone. Completely ordinary transaction. Until I opened her phone's battery cover. Some little spiders streamed out, and around the battery there was a bundle of cobwebs or a spider sack. After the lady left, we locked the door and sprayed Lysol and wiped the entire counter. Twice. Oh my god, that is just too weird for words. I saw this on YouTube, but there is this video of a little black kid dancing and singing and basically recording his own music video in an Apple store, giving absolutely no fricks what anyone thinks of him. You can see people in the back walking behind and staring at this little fool. It is pretty funny. I can't access YouTube at work, so if anyone has the link, awesome. I don't work for an Apple store, but I worked on a help desk, and it amazes me how many people store personal stuff on their work computers. Let's just say I found a video called Shower Time WMV while moving data from one hard drive to another. I used to work in an Apple store. I was on the floor once when a guy comes up saying that his phone wasn't deleting photos. I asked if he knew how to delete them, and then he said yeah, but they don't go. I've got to get rid of them. My kids are coming over this weekend. He then got out his phone and clicked straight into a full frontal picture of his dong. I instantly looked at the ceiling and got my phone out and said, I'll show you on mine. I had a pretty girly wallpaper that my girlfriend had put on at the time. Ooh, that's embarrassing. My girlfriend's done that. Yeah, not as embarrassing as mine. Number. No, it wasn't. Saw full frontal picture of his dong. Looked away. Got mine out. Way back when there was a jailbreak exploit that you could do just by going to a website. Some kids came in and jailbroke every iOS device in the store. That was a fun night of re-imaging every device in the store. Just for your information, re-imaging takes forever. I wasn't pleased. I was helping an older woman fix her phone at the Genius Bar. She was with her husband, they're in their 60s, and another specialist was helping them buy something. We talk about storage and how she had bazillions of photos. Let's delete some, she says. I go through and see super graphic old dong and wrinkly vag shots that I can never unsee, ever. And just as I fix her issue and give her back her phone, the other specialist says, okay guys, see you at home. She turns to me and says, these are my parents. I thought I've seen how you were made, and it's not pretty. Former genius here. Moment her 14-year-old son comes in to get his computer fixed. Software is messed up. Don't remember the specific issue, except that I did have to go into his iPhoto library, which he was totally fine with. I mean, until we open it up and there are a bunch of pictures of the kid with his friends getting wasted on natty ice. It was pretty awesome watching the mom play it cool, turn to the kid. That looks like fun. When was that? Kid shuts down immediately. Doesn't say another word. I finish whatever I was doing and they take off. I imagine that car ride was fun. There are a ton of stories of dumb kids with pictures like that, though. I used to work at the Mall of America and we had some teenage kids who would come in and take photo booth pictures with their shirts lifted up. Females, scrags, etc, etc. Makes me thankful I grew up when that crap was less prevalent. All my stupid crap didn't get documented as well. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.